What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Thank you so much for tuning in here for another amazing episode here. As we are so excited today to welcome Madison Hayes, number 21, guard for the women's basketball team. Madison, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me here. This is great.
Absolutely. No, it's it's an honor. I mean, I know kind of give the fans a little bit of background. I was telling you a little beforehand. I've definitely a huge respect of your game for sure. Love the aggressiveness on the defensive and the rebounding side. I know that even Wes Moore has made in a statement basically saying that he sees you as a three-way player, offensively, defensively, and rebounding. And, definitely looking forward to, seeing you on the court more this year for sure. But so kind of wanted to kind of start, really kind of talking about, just kind of your love of basketball kind of growing up, like what was your kind of initial, fine-tuned in terms of what made you, I guess, discover your love of basketball? Was it, family, or was it just, watching on TV?
So I really didn't start playing basketball till like 8th grade.
Oh, wow.
Softball was my first love.
Hey.
I played catcher like all my life. And I was starting to get recruited, but then I started growing faster. My knees was getting bad, and
Okay.
but then 8th grade, like I just really fell in love with like the game and like the pace of the game, and it was always on go 24/7. Like there's no stopping. And softball, it got boring when you got older.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really loved basketball. Like watching it, my parents played college. My dad played in the NBA for like a couple of years. So it's always been a part of our family. They didn't force it on me though. So that's what I like.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's definitely worked in nicely. And I'll tell you too, because it's that was one of the things that kind of held me back with baseball, because, like if I was going to play baseball, I always had an interest in catcher, but I just couldn't stay, on the ground with my knees bent like that for so long. That does a number. I don't know how MLB players do it.
Right.
But all power to them. So so when you first started playing, because like we were talking, a little bit about how Wes Moore sees you kind of a three-way player.
Right.
I know that again, you could do it all, but do you kind of see yourself as kind of a similar game, at all? Like, do you kind of compare yourself at all in terms of what your game is to maybe another player?
So a lot of people has compared my game to Kia Nurse.
Okay.
Just as aggressive. She's a three-way player as well. I've just always been that type of player. Growing up from 8th grade to now, just because I was behind from everybody else. I started late, and I had to catch up and even be better. So I've always just done the little things, and even more so scoring. So yeah.
Absolutely. And do you have a preference? I mean, do you enjoy one versus the other, in terms of, playing defense, rebounding the ball, or playing offense?
I think the little things get me going, and then I don't know, that's just always been my thing. Like even like in the Louisville game, like when I went in and, got a tip off, that kind of just started something, a spark or something going, and it just ever since
Nice.
then, it just always been my thing. So
Absolutely. Well, and so, kind of talking to, one of the things that, I guess, again, we're kind of basically kind of starting from the beginning, kind of working our way, to coming here to NC State and things like that. So, obviously being from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and being, so highly recruited like you were, who were some of the other schools that were highly recruited to you besides Mississippi State? And was NC State on that list initially when you were recruited?
Yeah, them two. Well, I'll just say my top 5. So it was Mississippi State, NC State, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Louisville.
Nice.
That was my big 5. I really liked. Yeah. I mean, I just didn't want to stay too close to home, but not too far to where I can't go home. So that was my big thing. Yeah.
And so what was kind of that selling factor, originally, and obviously again, we're glad to have you here. At the end of the day, you're here in state, and obviously, we're thrilled to have you here for sure. But I mean, like, was it just kind of a situational thing? Like, did you feel that there was more possibility of like playing time, things like that? Mississippi State, what was kind of the driving factor?
To like go to Mississippi State, that's what you're asking?
At the time, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. I really want to be a part of like a family atmosphere, not even just like with the fans, but with the team and the coaches. Like it felt like a family, not just, saying it because it's different when you say it and it doesn't match up with behavior.
Sure.
Um, and obviously I was committed to, Coach Schaefer before they had the coaching change. And,
Mm-hmm.
it was just, it wasn't a fit for me after the year. Like after I look back, even though I played a lot and, I had freshman team, it
Yeah.
just I knew I wouldn't be able to just, stay there and, I didn't want to feel miserable there. Like, so
And yeah,
yeah.
because let me ask you one question. I'll let Greg and Macon jump in here, but because this is one thing which I've always wanted to ask somebody, and you kind of bring it up perfectly, which is that when you're committing, one of the biggest things that they say is, that you shouldn't necessarily commit to the coach. You also commit to
Right,
the
right,
school, as well. Just so that way, if a coaching change happens, it's not necessarily like, oh, the coach is left. Okay, well, I'm out of here, kind of deal.
right,
But like, like, is there a balance to that at all? I mean, because I know at the end of the day, I mean, obviously, a coach is key because that's the person at the end of the day that's developing you. That's the
right.
person that you have the most relationship with when you're being recruited, kind of deal. Like that's the person that is talking to your parents and things like that. Like, is there a balance there, in terms of committing to a school compared to committing to a coach?
Yeah, like even, at Mississippi State, like I had a great 2-year relationship with Coach Schaefer. Like even on my official visit, when I went on my official visit, we went fishing because I like fishing. So,
Hey,
we did
nice.
that. And so
Awesome.
like the new coach came in. I obviously gave her a try only because I didn't want to base it off what everybody else said. I want to see for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known her before. She's from Tennessee, so we have that in common. So, but I mean, it's a balance. I just wouldn't put all my commitment onto one person.
Yeah,
It's always good to have a relationship with your coach, no matter what. That's the biggest thing.
absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
Yeah.
now I gotta ask, like, is anybody else on the team like fishing?
I don't know. I
Yeah,
love fishing. I don't know why. It's just always been a
That's
relaxing thing to
awesome.
me.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's
Yeah.
Um,
really cool. I'm curious. Mississippi State. You were made, I think, all freshman team when you were there, and
Yeah.
it sounds like to me it was just a matter of it wasn't really about performance and scheme or whatever. It was truly in your heart you weren't happy at that point and moving to NC
Yeah.
State. And so, you feel like when you came to State, you found that same the same thing what you were looking for when you went to Mississippi State? Is that the case? Have you built on anything from Mississippi State as far as there's something more here that's different from there? Not as a shot to Mississippi State, but I don't know if you get
Yeah.
where I'm asking that.
Yeah. So like when I got, I've known Coach Moore for a long time. My parents known him for a long time. He coached at UTC for
mhm.
many, many years, even though I don't
Yes.
want to tell his age, but he's coached there for a long time. He's won a lot of games. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
We can Wikipedia
So,
that. Don't worry.
I knew him sort of. So like, I've always had that relationship with him. And, when I got here, I knew veterans was going to be here. I know that I have to earn my spot,
Sure.
whatever
Right.
spot that was. And I knew that if I didn't have a spot, I was going to play my role as a good teammate, no matter what. Even
Mm-hmm.
if I'm playing or if I'm not playing, if I'm sitting on the bench the whole year, I'm gonna do my job as they would want me to, and just because I want to genuinely.
Amen.
Yeah. So,
Love that.
I hope I play more, and I want to play more. I feel like I've gotten a lot better this year, and I've found, that happiness that I've been trying to look for, into basketball because I want it to be fun. You want it to be fun at the end of the day, not miserable or like dreading it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I feel like ever since I've came here, it's been great so far, and he's taught me a lot of things, and being a two-way player, 3 and 4, that's just the biggest thing for me. He's really developing us as a team.
And I'm
Absolutely.
curious because you're mentioning that phrase two-way player or three-way player often. And I
Mhm.
just you seem to be really mindful of that skill set, and so I'm guessing that is something that you probably. Am I correct in understanding that it's something that you probably feel like you bring as a value to the team that kind of maybe, I don't say separates you from others, but it makes
Right.
you distinguishes you in your abilities from others. Can you talk about how important that is to have that versatility in your game, and at least from your perspective, having that ability to do so?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Obviously, I've had that experience through high school. I played 1 through 5. I was the biggest on my team,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to, be that 1 through 5, taking the ball out, getting the ball back, posting up on the other end, or do something. Um, I feel like, I was, kind of iffy about the 4 player in college because they're bigger than me. And,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything or anybody.
Let's
I want
go.
to bang. We can bang back and
Hey.
forth. That's just how I am as a person and a
Let's
player.
go.
And so, you know, I think that he just really like took that part of me that I can apply to my game, not even just in college, but in the pros.
Mm-hmm.
Like take that matchup, like because they're gonna be bigger than me, and I'm on offense. I can kill. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So like, but I'm gonna have help from my teammates on defense, obviously, but I'm gonna do my best, regardless. So
I
that's
love it. And
yeah,
and let me throw this in there too for you making as well to kind of prove that as well. So Madison's stats in high school during her high school career, she had 3,055 points, 1,583 rebounds, 459 assists, and 457 steals. So yeah, three-way. What's that?
You forgot the other stat.
Well,
no,
yeah, no.
Player of the year for
Two-time
Tennessee, right?
class 3A Miss Tennessee basketball winner. Yes, 2 time. So you know it. But go ahead, Macon.
Yeah.
Sorry, want to throw that
No,
in there for you.
I think
Yeah.
she's hit on. I was just curious how she felt like, just because you were mentioning that, Madison, how that's important to have that skill set, how valuable that is, at least for you, whereas other players may
Mm-hmm.
not have that. And there's obviously other players like, you know, that have that 2-way, 3-way ability on other
right,
teams.
Sure.
right,
But I just thought it was interesting because you mentioned that like a few times, so I wanted to highlight that.
Yeah,
yeah, because
absolutely.
doing the little things always matter because not everybody does it, and that's just how as a player, that's how I got my playing time. Like as a freshman, that's how I got my playing time because I know they had more experience than me. I'm just coming in. She wants defense, rebounding. You can add scoring in there. That's fine. You can score whenever you want, but
Mm-hmm.
the little things always matters, and not a lot of people do it. So I do it.
Right.
I'm kind of like the
Hey,
hard hatter right now. So
I love it. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightland's Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flightland's Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flightlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flightlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
yeah,
And in Madison too, I know that you've mentioned Westmore multiple times, and one of the things that I always think about is when we first started Tuffy Talk back in January of last year, we were lucky enough to have Ace Koenig, former in-state guard, 3-point record holder for NC State,
yeah,
and
yeah,
one of the things that she mentioned was how meticulous, how detail oriented Westmore is, and the fact that she would get yelled at for being like 6 inches off the spot that she was supposed to be on the floor,
right,
and
yes,
it was like to her like this like why are you, like, really, you want me to be like 6 inches to my right rather than right here? Like that's insane.
right,
But it makes a difference, and because one of the things that she even said too is that there's nobody, in her opinion, that watches more film than he does. There's nobody that prepares
yes.
as much as he does. And so can you kind of talk a little bit, just because I think that there's no doubt that Westmore deserves every bit of credit, every bit of praise, and then some,
Right.
in my opinion. And so can you talk a little bit about that in terms of not only just what it's been like kind of adjusting to to Westmore's game, but just kind of
Mhm.
talking about him as a coach perspective, and kind of what kind of separates him from most of the other coaches that you've worked with throughout your career.
I think that for one, he genuinely cares about his players, and I think that's a great thing. I think that he develops us, for all of us, like we're going to go pro. Even though that might not be everybody's thing, he's still gonna give you the tools that you need. If you're trying to go, you can do it. And if you change your mind, you still got the tools to do it from him.
Absolutely.
Especially the film thing. She was definitely right about that. He watches film after a game. We'll get back from an away game. He'll watch film. He'll have the film ready. All the staff will have the film ready, and we'll be ready to go in the morning. It's like clockwork for him. He's so like detailed, like she said. It's like when I was playing the four, like I had to be at a certain spot to like, this is how it's gonna work. This is where you got to be at. Like literally, like right here on this X. I'm like, okay. Yep. I mean, I'll try to get there. Because you don't think it matters until like it happens the way he is describing it, and then it's like it clicks. Like he was right. Like we gotta keep doing this. It takes time, obviously. Because we think we're right all the time, and we're not. And Coach Moore, he has enough patience to where he'll kind of like, okay, like you got to get to this spot, or it's not gonna work or whatever. But he's very meticulous about that for sure.
Yep. Well, and because one of the things I remember too, you kind of talk about the details, and this is something too which I know from being playing sports throughout my youth, is that and I was a football equipment manager, and we actually had the head coach for Arizona State. So Herm Edwards came and spoke to us. So one of the things that he talked about is that it's so important in sports that people they talk a lot about what to do. They talk a lot about when to do it and how to do it, but a lot of people don't talk a lot about why to do it. And I think that that's one of the things that Wes Moore and again, a lot of players that are the best of the best, they not only know what to do, but why it's important that that's done. And because that way kind of helps the player kind of buy into what they're doing and what they're trying to achieve here. And so again, that's why I just it just gets me excited, like hearing you talk about again, it's about the details, it's about the little things, and because again, sometimes it's forgotten about, and especially in a game like basketball where most players, all they care about is putting the basketball in the hoop. I mean, that's the most satisfying thing is swishing a shot and you hear the swish sound, and I mean that's the most satisfying. But when like somebody like yourself kind of even takes satisfaction out of, just like you said, the tip ball, the little things, like that's hey, I love that. So I just kind of just wanted to kind of shout out to you, but also too just kind of something to think about for those listening right now in terms of if you have kids that are competing or trying to take the next level, but again, all about the details. So so it kind of wanted to kind of talk a little bit too about this last year in that obviously it was a very, just like you said, a very experienced team. Obviously a lot of great players with Raina Perez, Liz Cunane, Kai Crutchfield, Kayla Jones, you name it. And so one of the things I think that's very interesting is obviously women's basketball, I feel, is starting to diversify. I mean, like usually, like obviously over the last 10 years, it's been pretty much UConn, South Carolina, and then everybody else. Yes. And but as of recently, State, we're getting up there. Stanford's, competing religiously, and then Louisville's getting up there, things like that. But one of the things that is kind of a balance too is that a lot of players kind of talk about what's more important to them: winning a championship, is it playing time, is it development, is it school? And so for you to come to NC State and knowing, just like you said, that you're going to have to play a role eventually, but then you're going to get the spot is big. But kind of talking about the NCAA tournament, did you feel that, even though again obviously didn't necessarily start necessarily, but I know you had some minutes in the early rounds, things like that, did you gain anything in terms of learning points that you feel kind of developed you as a player, having that experience, being a part of the NCAA tournament like that, and going into an environment like Bridgeport, things like that?
Yeah. Well, first let me say, like, at Mississippi State, we didn't go to the tournament. We didn't even make it. So it's like, obviously that broke me, because it was just like, dang, like I wanted to go so bad, because it's just an experience that like it's so different. Like when you get to the Elite Eight, to the Final Fours, and then obviously to the national championship. But last year it was very, the learning things that I've like felt was just like, this is like a learning thing for me, like learning from our seniors, just like just the thing that they have with them is just that they always wanted to learn stuff, and like they weren't always just not wanting to talk about anything or not wanting to learn. And that's what I took from them as the seniors on our team, because they wanted to be there. It wasn't just like, they just, okay, well, let's just blow by these teams. Like we took it one step at a time. As you saw, like we had a little step and we put the little sticker every time we went past the team. Like that was our step to the next thing. And that's one thing that I've learned. You just take it one step at a time. Don't ever look too far ahead when you have the present. That's one thing I've learned from when I was in the game.
Love that. And so obviously with the challenges of playing UConn in Bridgeport for sure, and because I know obviously Westmore is definitely not a guy to say poor pitiful us. I mean, then he said what's factual and saying, I mean, it wasn't right, but and definitely you should speak up for sure, but at the end of the day you got to deal with the hands that are dealt, and especially too I mean, again, it's a life lesson thing. And so, I guess, kind of, what was your kind of initial, reaction when you learned the news of playing UConn? Was it, immediately like, what the heck, or was it like, all right, then fair enough. Like, we're going to beat them in their own house kind of deal.
Even though, I didn't play that game, I was ready.
I've
always, because, when you're growing up seeing like UConn is always winning, you want to be that team to just beat them. Like, it's exciting. I felt like, even though we was in Connecticut, which, is wrong, but that's what we was dealt. And I felt like we had every chance to beat them, and it just wasn't, our time. It just wasn't our time. And I feel like we fought the hardest fight, and, we had 2 overtimes, there's, it's just, it sucks, but I really that was probably one of the funnest games that I've probably had in like my whole entire career. Like that was really fun.
Well, because go ahead, Greg.
For me, being at the game, I sat right directly across from your bench, and watching every from the most freshman of freshmen to the most senior person on that team. Everyone was engaged, like you're saying, and that you kept your teammates. Even though you weren't on the court, but you were in the game, like you're saying, right? Like, so you kept your teammates up the whole time. And that was just a game of runs. I mean, we would go on a run, they would go on a run, and that I've been to some great sporting events in my life. That hands down, and being a State fan, I'm biased, but that was the best event I've ever been to in my life. Just from the atmosphere, from the game itself, and that's the one thing that I would wish that the women's game would get more attention, because you guys deserve that attention. So for you, just being a part of that game, what did that mean? Because I mean, there was a lot of talk about that game before and afterwards. Just tell me your thoughts about having the opportunity to be there for that moment.
It was a blessing for all of us to be there. If you really want to be honest, I mean, like, they've been stuck at the Sweet 16 spot. And, Raina got that steal and hit the layup.
Let's go.
It was super exciting. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, we're going to the Elite Eight. Like, it was really like an exciting moment for us in the locker room. And now it's just like, now we're finna kick UConn's butt now. Like,
let's go.
Now it's like, we're in Bridgeport. This is like basically 5 minutes from them. So it's like, it's just take on the adversity and then just play. Like, this is what we came here for. So.
I'm curious, can you answer? How did the team personally feel about that? Because I don't think we've heard that angle yet.
About being in Bridgeport.
Yeah, in Bridgeport, yeah, I know. Westmore kind of was like, yeah, that is not ideal or whatever. People have verbalized that, but I don't think I've heard it from the team. How did y'all feel about that?
It was
how much disrespect did you feel?
It was like at first it was like how, then it was like, well, we're the number 1 seed. You would think we would be in Greensboro, or like, or South Carolina can go to, Bridgeport or something like that. Like it just, it kind of like, it made us upset, but at the same time, we were still excited because at the end of the day, like we wanted to go as far as we wanted to go. And I felt like we had so many chances to beat them, and it was just like, it just wasn't our time. And I felt like if some of those runs that they had were like important, like runs, they had really important runs.
The right moment in time. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And it's just like, dang. And then like, then the 2 overtimes, it saved us, but it just,
absolutely,
we didn't get it in time. So, I mean, it was a great game. Like I rewatch it sometimes. It's a really great game.
Do you really?
So,
does that motivate
if you don't mind,
mistakes and stuff. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No. Just again, we're going. I'm like, at some point, I got to end part 1. We got to move into part 2 here. But again, we could definitely pick this right back up here for part 2. So again, if please make sure tune in with us for part 2 here, so we continue this conversation again, so we can pick up right where we left off right here. Make sure if you haven't already, make sure to give Madison a follow again. On TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. We'll make sure to have all of her links to her social media in the link below. So make sure to go and give her a follow, and also make sure to go support the women's basketball team. If you haven't bought season tickets already, make sure to do that. That is a must do. And again, Madison, anything else you want to plug in here as well?
I don't got anything till part 2. So
all right, cool. Let's do it. All right. Well, thank you all so much again. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and then give us a follow. Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you all so much. Go Pack, y'all. See you on part 2.